Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Chapter 14. Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. Kirill, however, must have been braver than they thought. In the weeks that followed, he did seem to be getting paler and thinner, but it didn't look as though he'd cracked yet. Every time they passed the third-floor corridor, Harry, Ron, and Hermione would press their ears to the door to check that Fluffy was still growling inside. Snape was weeping about in his usual bad temper, which surely meant that the stone was still safe. Whenever Harry passed Kirill these days, he gave him an encouraging sort of smile, and Ron had started telling people off for laughing at Kirill's stutter. Hermione, however, had more on her mind than the Sorcerer's Stone. She had started drawing up study schedules and color-coding at all her notes. Harry and Ron wouldn't have minded it, but she kept nagging them to do the same. "Hermione, the exams are age away." 10 weeks, Hermione snapped. "That's not age. That's like a second to Nicholas Flamel." "But we're not 600 years old," Ron reminded her. "Anyway, what are you studying for? You already know it well." "What am I studying for? Are you crazy? You realize we need to pass the exams to get into second year? They're very important. I should have started studying a month ago. I don't know what's gotten me into." Unfortunately, the teachers seemed to be thinking along the same line as Hermione. They piled so much homework on them that the Easter holiday wasn't nearly as much fun as Christmas ones. It was hard to relax with Hermione next to you reciting the 12 used dragon bloods, practicing and wand movements, moaning and yawning. Harry and Ron spent most of their free time in the library with her, trying to get through all the extra words. I'll never remember this," Ron burst one afternoon, throwing down his quill and looking longingly out of the library window. It was the first really fine day they'd had in months. The sky was clear, forget-me-not blue, and there was a feeling in the air of summer coming. Harry, who was looking up Dittany in 1000 magical herbs and fungi, didn't look up until he heard Ron say, "Hagrid, what are you doing in the library?" Hagrid shuffled into view. "Hide something behind the back." He looked very out of place in the Malkin's overcoat. "Just looking," he said, in a shifty voice that got their interests at once. "And what are you lots up here?" "Up to?" He looked suddenly suspicious. "You're not still looking for Nicholas Flamel, yeah?" "Oh, we found out he is ages ago," said Ron impressively. "And we know what the dog's learning. It's the Sorcerer's..." "Shh!" Hagrid looked around quickly to see if anyone was listening. "Don't go shouting about it. What's the matter with you?" "There are a few things we want to ask you, as a matter of fact," said Harry, "about what's guarding the stone apart from Fluffy." "Shh!" said Hagrid again. "Listen, come on, see me later. I'm not promising I'll tell you anything, mind, but don't go rabbiting about in here. Students aren't supposed to know. They'll think I've told you." See you later, then, said Harry. Hagrid shuffled off. What was he hiding behind his back? Said Hermione thoughtfully. Do you think it has something to do with the stone? I'm going to see what section he was in, said Ron, who had enough of working. He came back in a minute later with a pile of books in his arms and slammed them down on the table. Dragons, he whispered. Hagrid was looking up stuff about dragons. Look at this. Dragon species of Great Britain and Ireland. From Axe to Afron, a dragon keeper guide. Hagrid always wanted a dragon. He told me so the first time I met him, said Harry. But it's against our laws, said Ron. Dragon breeding was out of law by the Warlocks Convention of 1709. Everyone knows that. It's hard to stop muggles from noticing us if we're keeping dragons in the back garden. Anyway, you can't tame dragons. It's dangerous. You should see the birds Charlie got of wild one in Romania. But there aren't wild dragons in Britain, said Harry. Of course they are, said Ron. Commonwealth's green and the Herbian blacks. The Ministry of Magic has a job hushing them up. I can tell you. Our coins have kept putting spells on muggles who spotted them to make them forget. So what on earth is Hagrid up to? Said Hermione. When they knocked on the door to the gamekeeper's hut an hour later, they were surprised to see that all of curtains were closed. Hagrid called, "Who is it?" before he let them in, and then shut the door quickly behind them. It was stifling hot inside. Even though it was such a warm day, there was blazing fire in the grate. Hagrid made them tea and offered them salt sandwiches, which they refused. So you want to ask me something? Yes, said Harry. There was no point beating around the bush. We were wondering if you could tell us what's guarding the Sorcerer's Stone apart from Fluffy. Hagrid frowned at him. Oh, of course I can't, he said. Number 1, I don't know myself. Number 2, you know so much already. Yeah, so I wouldn't tell you if I could. This stone here for a good reason. It was almost stolen in out to Gringotts. I suppose you've worked that all in. Beats me how you even know about Fluffy. Oh, come on, Hagrid. You might not want to tell us, but you do know. You know everything that goes around here, said Hermione in a warm, flatting voice. Hagrid's beard twitched, and they could tell he was smiling. We only wonder who had done the guarding, really, Hermione went on. We wonder who Dumbledore had trust enough to help him, apart from you. Hagrid's chest swelled at these last words. Harry and Ron beamed at Hermione. Well, I don't suppose it could hurt to tell you that. Let's see. He borrowed Fluffy more me than some of the teachers did instruments. Professor Sprout, Professor Flitwick, Professor McGonagall, he tricked them off his fingers, Professor Quirrell, and Dumbledore himself did something, of course. Hang on, I've forgotten someone. Oh, Professor Snape. Snape? Yeah, you're not still on about that, are ya? Look, Snape helped us protect the stone. He's not about to steal it. Harry knew Ron and Hermione was thinking the same as he was. If Snape had been in the protecting the stone, it must have been easy to find out how the other teachers had guarded it. He probably knew everything, except it seems Quirrell's spells or how to get past Fluffy. You're the only one who knows how to get past Fluffy, aren't you, Harry? Said Harry anxiously. And you wouldn't tell anyone, would you? Not even one of the teachers. Not a soul knows except me and Dumbledore, said Harry proudly. Well, that's something, Harry muttered to others. Harry, we have a window open? I'm boiling. Can't. Harry, sorry, said Harriet. Harry noticed him glance at the fire. Harry looked at it too. Hagrid, what's that? But he already knew what it was. In the very heart of the fire, underneath the kettle, was a huge black egg. Ah, said Hagrid, fleeting nervously with his beard. That's, where did you get it, Hagrid? Said Ron, crouching over the fire to get a closer look at the egg. It must cost you a fortune. Won it, said Hagrid. Last night, I was out in the village, having a few drinks, and got into a game of cards with a stranger. Think he was quite glad to get rid of it, to be honest. But what are you going to do with this when it's hatched? Said Hermione. Well, I've been doing some reading, said Hagrid, pulling a large book from under his pillow. Got this out of the library. Dragon breeding for pleasure and profit. It's a bit out of date, of course, but it's all in here, keeping the eggs in the fire, 'cause their mothers breathe on them. See? And when it hatches, feed it on a bucket of brandy mixed with chicken blood every half hour. And see here, how to recognize different eggs. What I got this is a Norwegian ridgeback. They rear them. He looked as pleased with himself, but Hermione didn't. Hagrid, you live in a wooden house, she said, but Hagrid wasn't listening. He was fuming merrily at the stroke of fire. So now they had something else to worry about. What might happen to Hagrid if anyone found out he was hiding a illegal dragon in his house? Wonder what it's like to have a peaceful life, Ron sighed, as evening, after everything they struggled through, all the extra homeworks they were getting. Hermione had now started making study schedules for Harry and Ron, too. It was driving them nuts. Then one breakfast time, Hedwig brought Harry another note from Hagrid. He had written only 2 words, "It's hatching." Ron wanted to skip purposely and go straight down the hut. Hermione wouldn't hear of it. Hermione, how many times in your life are we going to see a dragon hatching? We've got lessons. We'll get into trouble. And that's nothing to what Hagrid's going to be in when someone finds out what he's doing. Shut up, Harry whispered. Malfoy was only a few feet away, and he had stopped dead to listen. How much had he heard? Harry didn't think to look at Malfoy's face at all. Ron and Hermione argued all the way to the Herberty, and in the end, Hermione agreed to run down to Hagrid with the other 2 during morning break. When the bell sounded from the castle at the end of their lessons, the 3 of them dropped down towers and once and hurried through the grounds of the edge of the forest. Hagrid greeted them, looking fresh and excited. It's nearly out, he ushered them inside. The egg was lying on the table. There was deep cracks in it. Something was moving inside. A funny clicking noise was coming from it. They all drew their chairs up to the table and watched with bated breath.